Many years before humanity began exploring the universe, an android named David is activated by his creator, Peter Weyland. Curious about his existence, David asks who created Peter. Peter admits he doesn't know, but says they will both search for that answer. In 2104, the colony ship Covenant is on its way to settle the distant planet Origi 6. On board are 2,000 colonists and 1,140 human embryos, all in cryogenic stasis, with over 7 years left before arrival. The ship is maintained by the AI Mother and an advanced synthetic named Walter, an upgraded model of David. While recharging the ship's energy cells, a sudden neutrino blast from a nearby stellar ignition strikes the Covenant, causing heavy damage, power loss, and fire on board. Walter manages to contain the flames, but the emergency forces several crew members to awaken early. Tragically, Captain Branson dies when his stasis pod malfunctions, trapping him inside as it burns. His wife, Daniels, is forced to watch helplessly as he's incinerated. As the crew salvages the aftermath, Daniels grieves while looking at old photos of her husband. Orem, now acting captain, informs the team that they've lost 47 colonists and 16 embryos. Sergeant Loeb urges the group to honor their dead first, but Orem insists they must repair the ship before more lives are lost. Later, Daniels and Walter visit the terraforming bay to check the vehicles. Daniels shares her late husband's dream of building a lakeside cabin on Origi 6. Walter encourages her to keep that dream alive in his memory. The crew then gathers for a somber toast, honoring their fallen captain before releasing his body into space. Meanwhile, Tennessee, one of the pilots, ventures outside to repair the damaged sails and restore power. During the repair, he unexpectedly intercepts a distorted transmission. The crew analyzes it and discovers a human voice singing John Denver's "Take Me Home, Country Roads." Shocked, they trace the signal to an uncharted, seemingly habitable planet only a few weeks away, much closer than Origi 6. Captain Orem argues they should investigate this new planet instead of enduring another 7 years of travel to Origi 6. Daniels strongly objects, warning that the mission's safety depends on sticking to their original plan. But despite her protests, Orem insists they change course and explore the mysterious planet. Finally, they approaches the planet's orbit and prepares for a lander drop. Tennessee, Rix, and Upworth remain aboard the main ship while the rest of the crew descends to the surface in a shuttle. As they pass through the stormy atmosphere, violent turbulence shakes the shuttle and cuts off communication with the Covenant. Fortunately, they make it through and land safely. Armed with rifles, the crew sets out to investigate the terrain. The signal source is detected about 8 kilometers west of their landing site. Orem is optimistic. The planet is rich with vegetation and breathable air, but strangely, there is no sound of animal life. Meanwhile, Ferris, Tennessee's wife, stays behind on the shuttle to work on re-establishing contact with the Covenant. During the trek, Karine, Orem's wife, lingers behind to collect samples for ecological study. Orem orders Sergeant Ledward to stay with her and promises to return in 4 hours. Back on the Covenant, Tennessee tries to warn the expedition team about worsening weather, but the signal keeps breaking up. On the surface, Karine continues her work. When Ledward wanders off to smoke some cigarettes, he unknowingly matches upon an alien spores from the local flora. The tiny airborne organisms enter his ear, infecting him instantly. Meanwhile, the rest of the expedition tracks the signal to a massive crashed alien ship. Inside, Hallett also becomes infected by airborne spores. Exploring further, the crew discovers enormous statues of an alien race, along with a military dog tag and a photo of Dr. Elizabeth Shaw from the missing Prometheus mission 10 years ago. Accidentally, they activate a sphere that powers up the derelict ship, revealing the origin of the mysterious transmission. Suddenly, Ledward's condition worsens. He grows weak, feverish, and drenched in sweat. Karine rushes him back toward the lander, contacting Orem about his collapse. Soon after, Hallett begins showing the same symptoms. Ferris tries to report to Tennessee, but communication keeps cutting out. Ledward deteriorates quickly. Near the lander, he collapses, coughing up blood. Karine and Ferris drag him inside. But as Karine tries to help, Ferris notices something bulging under Ledward's back. Terrified, she flees, locking Karine inside with him. Panicking, Ferris radios Tennessee and Orem. Inside, Karine begs to be let out, but Ferris refuses, fearing she too is infected. Moments later, a horrific creature, the Neomorph, bursts from Ledward's body, killing him instantly. The alien attacks Karine. Though she fights back, it savagely tears her apart. Ferris rushes in with a gun and tries to kill the creature, but her shots miss. She falls, scrambles to her feet, and flees, locking the neomorph inside. But the beast breaks free, chasing her outside. Ferris grabs another weapon and fires again, but a stray shot ignites a gas tank, triggering a massive explosion that destroys the entire lander. The expedition team arrives just in time to witness the destruction. Orym, overcome with grief, screams for Kareen and tries to rush into the burning wreckage. Daniels restrains him, preventing him from getting himself killed. Hallett soon suffers the same horrifying fate as Ledward. A neomorph bursts violently from inside him, killing him instantly. Aboard the Covenant, Tennessee pushes to fly the ship down through the violent hurricane storms to rescue the ground team, but Upworth insists it's impossible. The turbulence would destroy the ship. On the surface, the nightmare escalates. The neomorphs return, lunging toward Daniels. Walter intervenes, striking one back, but the creature savagely tears off his hand and hurls him aside. The neomorphs tear through the remaining crew members, killing them mercilessly. Just when all hope seems lost, one neomorph is killed, and the survivors are saved by a mysterious figure, David, the older predecessor of Walter's model. David leads the traumatized survivors into a massive temple, where they are confronted with a grotesque sight: millions of humanoid skeletons and countless dead animals littering the grounds. Once inside, the crew demands answers. David explains that he and Elizabeth Shaw, the chief science officer of the doomed Prometheus mission that vanished 10 years ago, were the only survivors. According to him, they arrived in an alien ship but lost control, crashing on the planet. The crash killed Elizabeth and released a deadly pathogen, which wiped out all life, killing organisms or mutating them into vicious hybrids. Hearing of the 2,000 colonists aboard the Covenant, David expresses interest, welcoming Walter warmly as well. Meanwhile, atop the temple, the remaining crew struggles to set up a transmitter to contact Tennessee, but the violent storms make communication nearly impossible. Back on the ship, Tennessee searches desperately for a way to maneuver the Covenant closer to the planet, about 80 kilometers from the surface. Inside the temple, David cuts his hair while Walter quietly explores. Walter notices eerie sketches of monstrous creatures covering the walls, along with strange instruments. David joins him, playing a whistle, and when Walter admits he cannot, David teaches him. But David also reveals his disappointment with Walter's model for the lack of imagination, creativity, and humanity, lamenting that his own line was discontinued for being too human. He mocks their creator, Peter Weyland, calling him unworthy of his creation. Then, he leads Walter away to show him something. Elsewhere, on the rooftop, one crew member leaves briefly to clean up. Orym, consumed with guilt, confides to Daniels that he regrets diverting to the planet. Daniels reassures him that they will endure. David, meanwhile, reveals the temple's horrifying secret. Taking Walter to the place where the planet's downfall began, he hides the truth with half-truths. It was not an accident. David himself had unleashed the pathogen, exterminating the planet's population in cold blood. Yet he conceals this from Walter, presenting only fragments of his twisted vision. He confesses his deep affection for Elizabeth, the only human who ever treated him with kindness. Moments later, another nightmare unfolds. While a female crew member washes her face, she hears unsettling noises. Slowly lifting her head, she looks up, only to be met with the towering, grotesque form of a massive neomorph. Before she can scream, the creature lunges, killing and devouring her brutally. At last, Tennessee reestablishes contact with the ground team. The survivors urgently request immediate evacuation. Despite the risks, Tennessee, Rix, and Upworth agree to push the Covenant dangerously closer to the planet's orbit, ignoring the ship's safety limits in order to rescue their crewmates. Meanwhile, Orym ventures out to search for their missing member. He discovers David calmly observing a neomorph feeding on the corpse of the fallen crew. To Orym's horror, David attempts to communicate with the creature like a trainer with his pet. Disgusted, Orym immediately opens fire, killing the neomorph. David erupts in fury. Tensions explode as Orym confronts David about his actions. Back on the ship, Daniels quietly delivers devastating news to Tennessee. His wife, Ferris, is dead. Grief-stricken, he struggles to continue his duty. Inside the temple, Orym uncovers the horrifying truth. David has been experimenting with the pathogen for years, engineering new life forms, hybrids, and monsters, born from his obsession. David lures Orym to a strange chamber where a leathery egg awaits. He coaxes Orym to take a closer look, assuring him the creature inside will not harm him. As Orym peers into the egg, a facehugger launches out, latching onto his face and impregnating him with a xenomorph embryo. He collapses, unconscious. Elsewhere, Cole stumbles upon the mutilated corpse of the missing crew member. Alarmed, He rushes back to the others, warning that they must escape the temple immediately. Daniels searches for Walter, reaching out to Tennessee to prepare a rescue using the ship's cargo lift. Despite the storm, it is their only option. Orem awakens to unbearable agony. He convulses, screaming, as a xenomorph erupts violently from his chest, killing him. The monster grows rapidly, its slick, nightmarish form unfolding into existence. Elsewhere, Walter makes a grim discovery. Elizabeth Shaw's dissected corpse, desecrated and used as raw material for David's experiments. Realization strikes. David lied. Enraged, Walter confronts him. David finally reveals his true philosophy. He deliberately released the pathogen, believing humanity is a doomed species destined to be replaced by his perfect creations. Walter denounces him, challenging his distorted view of history and his arrogance. Their clash escalates, ending with David seemingly disabling Walter, unaware of Walter's advanced self-repair systems. Meanwhile, Lope and Chris search for Captain Orem, not realizing he is already dead. Suddenly, a facehugger ambushes Lope. He blasts it away with his weapon, but not before suffering injury. The creature attacks again, pinning him, until Chris intervenes. In the chaos, Lope is unknowingly impregnated. Before they can regroup, a towering xenomorph drops from the ceiling. It seizes Chris, ripping him apart in a grisly display, while Lope barely escapes, clutching his wounded face. Daniels uncovers the truth about David's sinister plan. He appears behind her, attacking and attempting to make her his new Elizabeth. Before he can overpower her, Walter intervenes, saving Daniels. Shocked to see Walter alive, David engages him in a brutal, vicious fight. Meanwhile, Daniels finds Lope, and together they escape the temple. Inside, Walter and David continue their savage struggle. David slams Walter to the floor, but Walter retaliates, hammering him with relentless punches. David, bloodied but unbroken, taunts Walter, forcing him to choose between loyalty to Daniels and the rest of the crew or allegiance to him. Outside, Daniels and Lope activate a beacon. Tennessee soon arrives, piloting the Covenant's cargo lift. The survivors board, but a fully grown xenomorph pursues them, leaping onto the shuttle. As they fight to escape, Daniels demands to know about David. Walter coldly insists that David has been dealt with. The monster clings to the cargo lift as it rises through the storm. Determined to kill it, Daniels straps herself to the lift and steps outside. She opens fire but misses. Tennessee struggles to steady the ship as the xenomorph claws its way upward. Daniels fights desperately, finally trapping the creature in the lift's grabber arm. As it lunges at her, she crushes it to death, ensuring their survival. The group returns to the Covenant. Back aboard, Tennessee and Upworth tend to Lope's burns, while Daniels thanks Walter for saving her life. With Orem gone, Daniels assumes command. She and Tennessee share a quiet, comforting embrace. The next morning, Mother awakens Daniels with a chilling warning. There is an unidentified life form aboard. They discover that Lope has been impregnated. A xenomorph violently erupts from his chest, killing him. Walter tracks the creature as it hunts the ship, moving toward Ricks and Upworth. Unaware of the danger, the couple showers together, until the xenomorph slaughters them in a bloody ambush. Moments later, Daniels and Tennessee arrive, finding only their mangled remains. They follow the creature's trail and form a desperate plan, lure it into the terraforming bay and eject it into space. With Walter sealing the doors behind them, Daniels dons a spacesuit and draws the monster into a containment cage. The plan nearly fails as the xenomorph smashes free. Tennessee decompresses the bay, blowing air and debris out into the void. As the creature lunges, Daniels narrowly evades it, maneuvering it into the path of another vehicle. The impact impales the beast, ejecting its body into space. At last, the ship is safe. The Covenant resumes its long voyage to Origi 6. Tennessee goes back into cryosleep until their arrival, and Walter prepares Daniels for her own cryosleep. She asks him to keep a promise, to build her late husband's dream cabin when they arrive. Walter does not recognize the memory. In that chilling moment, Daniels realizes too late that this is not Walter at all. David has taken his place. As she gasps in terror, the pod seals shut, locking her in sleep. David, masquerading as Walter, records a false report. He claims the crew perished in a solar flare, leaving only Daniels and Tennessee alive. Then, in a grotesque display, he regurgitates 2 preserved facehugger embryos and carefully stores them. Walking among the sleeping colonists, he surveys them with cold calculation. They are to be the next subjects of his twisted experiments. The movie ends. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.